Hello and welcome to this special edition of Creighton in the Community. Today's high school student applies for several universities. For students aspiring to be medical students, the numbers can be even more. Today we're going to talk about a program at Creighton University called the Pre-Medicine Education Program, which we feel is giving Creighton the edge. With me is Tricia Sherrar, Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs at Creighton University, and has been one of the designers of the program. What is the Pre-Medicine Educational Program?
The Pre-Med program at Creighton, the Pre-Medicine Seminar, which we refer to as PMED, is actually a seminar which helps students in their freshman through their junior year to apply for medical school and to prepare for a profession in medicine. So the program itself is, it really combines two parts. There's the curricular part, which is the academics of the program. There are certain classes that students need to take, those in science, which will help prepare them for the profession of medicine and for medical school. There's also the co-curricular requirements, which students must do to become more competitive applicants. And some of those co-curricular requirements involve service to others, volunteerism, shadowing, observations, and also clinical work. So PMED combines academic and co-curricular work to better prepare the student for medical school and the application process.
Why did Creighton design a program like this?
You know, Creighton really has a great deal of concern for the student, and when students come to Creighton, they come knowing that they're going to get a great education, but that we're also going to help them to prepare for what they want to do in their future. When you go to undergraduate school, your expectation is that you'll get a solid educational background, but it's not all about the academics. It's about those other things that will help to make you a success in life. Beyond the 4 years of the undergraduate studies.
In terms of when you designed the program, there were some outcomes that were not being met. What were some of those outcomes, for instance?
I think at Creighton we've always done a very good job of preparing students to be successful. One of the things that we maybe weren't so successful at was developing a collaborative program to assist students as they were preparing for the next step in their career. For those students that want to go on to a profession in health, they need a little more direction, a little more attention, because it can be very overwhelming coming from high school into college and not having a clear sense of where you need to go or what you need to do to become successful in health professions. Creighton had a lot of students interested in medicine and applying, but their applications weren't as competitive as they could have been. So we realized there was a lot of potential for our students, and we wanted to focus on what some of those things would be that if students did early on in their education would help them to become more competitive in the application process, specifically to medical school.
Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier there were observations, there was shadowing, there were several things you mentioned. Let's talk about each one of those individually, and how do those strengthen the application? Like, for instance, the shadowing. What does that bring to the?
When students go to medical school, there's a lot of expectations. One of those expectations is that they understand the medical profession. They know what it's about. So shadowing and observation really assists the student early on in determining whether or not that profession is right for them. It also gives them a sense of the opportunities that are out there, specifically in medicine. We encourage students in the PMED program to get involved, number one, in their first year with shadowing and volunteer work. Volunteer work is something that our Creighton students do all the time. Service to others is a big part of our mission, so our expectation is that they will continue that during their 4 years of undergraduate. However, there's a difference between volunteering at any organization and volunteering at a health organization. When you volunteer at a health organization, you do get to see a little bit more about the profession of medicine, whether it be with patient care, hands-on patient care, or the behind the scenes, making an actual appointment with somebody. So we encourage our students early on to do volunteer work both inside and outside of the health profession. We also encourage them to shadow physicians. And the reason we do that is because we want them to know what life as a physician is about both inside and outside the walls of the profession. It's one thing to understand what happens within the walls of a hospital. It's another thing to understand the passion, the bedside manners, the actual impact that being a physician can have on your lifestyle. And we want students to become more familiar with that so that they can actually go through a discernment process and determine whether or not that's the life that they want to lead and that's the profession that's right for them.
One of the things you shared with me earlier was how the classes change from the pre-med, you have pre-med 100, 200, and 300. And I noticed on each of them, you see the word discernment. And I think that's very, very interesting. And discernment can probably mean, yes, this is right for me, or no, it's not right for me.
Discernment is one of the pieces that we focus on specifically during the second year of the program. So PMED is a 5-semester program, which involves, as we talked about, both academics and co-curricular requirements. Students that complete all 5 semesters are eligible for what we call a campus letter.
What is the campus letter and why is it so important?
So a campus letter is similar to a letter of recommendation. You will sometimes hear it referred to as a letter of endorsement, a letter of evaluation, or a qualified letter of recommendation from a university. The campus letter is the premier letter that students in PMED strive for. It's a letter that goes on top of their letters of recommendation with their medical school application to the medical schools to which they apply. So at Creighton, the campus letter is only available to medical school applicants, so pre-med students, who go through our 5-semester program of PMED. That's sort of the carrot, if you will, at the end of the road. Our students are not eligible for the campus letter unless they complete successfully 5 semesters of the program. Now the reason I bring that up is because we take the 5 semesters and we break it down into semesters where we feel the students are going to benefit the most from the co-curricular nature of those programs. In the second year of the program, students have transitioned to college life. They understand what the expectations of the educational core requirements are at Creighton. And in the second semester, they're able to really focus on their path. So discernment is giving a student the opportunity to discern, to determine what is going to be right for them as they move forward. Some students that come to Creighton and to college in general don't have a sense of what a profession in medicine is all about. Some believe that if they want to work on the foot, that they have to become a physician, an MD. That's not the case, and sometimes they just need somebody to help them with that. Let's say that a student wants to become a podiatrist. So what we do is we try to encourage the student to determine what profession they're interested in, what's their passion, what's their area of interest, and then we help them determine the avenue to get there. So a student could very well come to Creighton thinking that they're pre-med, and they go all the way through the 5 semesters and determine that they'd rather go to dental school. And that's a good thing.
That's a good
thing. We want them to do that. We encourage them to look at the choices that are around them and to look at the different paths that they can take. There's other students who come to Creighton not really having a sense of what the medical profession is all about. And when they learn, they realize, yes, that's it. That's exactly what I want to do. Patient care, cardiology, radiology, that's what I want to do. Now, in the discernment process, we give them all sorts of opportunities to learn about different health professions. And that way, their eyes are open to the opportunities out there. Once a student focuses on a specific choice or a specific passion or a specific interest, then we help them to go a little bit deeper into that professional area and pursue some of those opportunities.
What differentiates Creighton from other pre-medical programs?
You know, the program at Creighton we really developed for our own needs, and while we did have input on what other schools were doing, we developed a program based on input from our Alumni Advisory Board, the School of Medicine Alumni Advisory Board, and also our pre-health advisors at Creighton. Our program is unique in a number of ways. Number one, it's an open program, meaning that any student who has an interest in medicine is allowed to register for that course. The only prerequisite is that as students enter the program, they must successfully complete the prior semester of PMED. However, We do work individually with students to create a schedule if they transfer in from a different institution and cannot join in the freshman year, or if they have a change of interest, meaning that as a sophomore to junior, they decide for one reason or another that they're going to become pre-med, they need to have this information, so we really hand develop a program that will work for them. The other part about our program that's unique is while they don't have to pay for it, it does go on their transcript. So PMED is free. We believe that every student who pays tuition at Creighton deserves to be appropriately educated in those areas of interest that they have, and PMED, pre-medicine, is one of them. So we do not charge to participate in PMED seminar. However, it does go on their transcript. And the reason students have PMED on their transcript is so those schools that they apply to realize that they have been mentored and they've participated in a pre-med advising program where we have really encouraged them to go out and to do all the co-curricular requirements that are necessary to understand what the medical school application process is all about, what medical school is about, and what a profession in medicine is about. And I think those are the things that really make us unique with respect to pre-med advising at Creighton.
How many just are involved in the pre-med program? How many pre-med students are there at Creighton?
We start our program in the second semester of the freshman year. It's 5 semesters. In the spring, we normally have anywhere between 570, 600 students.
In the PMED program? Wow, that requires a lot of volunteers in the community and a lot of doctors to shadow.
We have a wonderful network of alumni. At Creighton, we have 57,000 or so alums, and I must say that they are committed to both our students and to the school. We have a very good network of physicians in Omaha that we work with on a regular basis. If a student wants to observe in a specific specialty area, we do put them in touch with alumni contacts. We have alumni consultants that work with PMED regularly with other doctors, physicians, and one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at Creighton is that network, that alumni network, and that family. So it's something we're very proud of. I don't know of any other school that's able to put their students in touch with actual alumni from their institution to help them determine whether or not a profession in medicine is right for them.
Have you had, and I have just 2 more questions for you. Do you have you cycled so you've seen successes?
You love to see student success, but in my world, success doesn't mean that they automatically are admitted to medicine. I think success in my world is when a student realizes that what they've been planning to do and what they've been working so hard for actually works out the way that they hoped it would. So we see a lot of success. Sometimes it's that student realizing that medicine is right for them, and it's that just the smile in their eyes when they come and tell you that I finally determined that this is what I want. I feel differently when I'm in a hospital, and I feel differently than when I'm working with a child that has disabilities. And sometimes that success is when they get admitted to medical school. And other times that success is when they realize that what I wanted all along maybe isn't really what I wanted, but this is the path, and I know it's the right path, and I want you to help me get there. So we see success in all styles. I would say that the most inspiring success is that student that is so excited about their future and about what they're going to do, and they just have so much appreciation and so much gratitude that they don't know what to do with it. And so it's just those smiles, those thank yous, and then 4 years later when they come back and they actually say, thank you so much for helping me, because I never had somebody support me like you did, and I never knew I was capable of doing this, and I'm just so proud, so thank you.
Historically, how have pre-med students been recruited to Creighton University?
They've always thought about Creighton as a strong pre-health science curriculum, and they've looked at the fact that we have the medical school right on campus. And so a student who's studying here and pursuing their undergraduate degree in whatever area that might be, we talked about the fact that they can sit, eat, sleep right alongside the medical students who are here. Very few institutions our size have the opportunity for students to have a medical school on one campus usually you have to find a school with 10,000 or more students. So pre-med here is very different than if you're looking at pre-med at a larger public institution.
How has the PMED program given Creighton the edge over other universities?
There's a significant edge in that students right now hear about the PMED program and they think about, wow, this is an opportunity for me to have an intentional opportunity to take advantage of services that aren't offered at other schools in preparing me for med school. One of the biggest things that we see with PMED is that you actually have faculty and staff who are dedicated to preparing you to position yourself in the best manner to compete for the limited medical school spots. There are very few other institutions that take PMED in the intentional way that we do in helping and supporting our students.
What's been the response of prospective students and parents?
The students are very excited, but the parents are more excited. And the reason for that is because at many institutions you have a course or a series of courses that are weeding courses where the pre-med students are weeded out because they can't be successful in that curriculum. With PMED, what we can do is support students to be successful through those courses which are more challenging or typically courses that are weeding at other institutions, and yet support them. Whereas PMED allows a student an opportunity time to discern whether or not they are really suited for a career in the medicine field. And therefore, they think it's great because they're supporting them academically at the same time helping them through a discernment process which is typically related to failing in the academic curriculum.
I'm with Dr. Kevin Colley. He is a member of the Creighton University School of Medicine Alumni Board, and he's also a very active consultant with the PMED program. Tell me about the PMED program from your perspective. Why is it a valuable program?
Well, it's kind of a long history involved in this, and it actually started about 20 years ago, and that's when we first got on the advisory board. And one of the big jobs we have are representing our alumni when their sons and daughters apply to medical school. And they had no one to talk to if there was a problem that would come up. And so as we got on the advisory board and as we got on the medical admissions committee, we started to realize that there were some serious problems with the Creighton applicants, how they filled out the application forms. And then there were some schools that just did a great job in filling out the forms. And so we said there must be something that they're doing that we're not doing. And so we went to the dean and we said, we need a pre-medical advisory person who can kind of help our students prepare for medical admissions process. I think in the 4 years that we have unrolled this program, it's made a significant difference in the Creighton kids who have applied to our medical school. And ultimately what we want is the kids to be successful and to identify early on in their process when there's a problem. If they're a senior and they apply to medical school and they don't have the credentials, well, what were we doing for the first 3 or 4 years? And that's what the parents were upset about. I get phone calls and they'd say, well, geez, no one even told them that there was going to be a problem. So now we try to identify problems from the very first year that they're there. And if they're not going to make it, we try to steer them into doing something else. And it could still be in healthcare, but maybe just not the MD program. And so the numbers are not in, but the early feeling that I have is that it is working, that the people that are applying, their applications are much better, they're more competitive looking, and the kids that shouldn't be applying are not applying. So I think from that standpoint, we've been very successful to this point.
I know that a part that you do very well is the shadowing aspect. Tell me about a typical shadowing program and why that's an important part of this program, because I believe it's all 3 years they shadow.
Correct. You know, there's a number of things that the students have to do. Certainly have to have good grades, they have to have good MCATs. Volunteering for a Creighton kid is very important, so there's all kinds of volunteer aspects. But sometimes kids don't really know what it is they're getting themselves into. They had no experience in a hospital or a doctor's office. So one of the things that we do require is that the kids find a physician that they can call and spend some time with them to see whether or not they really do like the field of medicine. So we have a list of physicians in the Omaha area, and actually, since Creighton is has a national presence, kids can go back to their hometowns and usually find a Creighton physician that they can call and ask if they can spend some time with. But it doesn't just have to be a Creighton doctor. It could be any physician that they might know. And so the students will come into our radiology department, and we'll show them around the department. We'll show them the various areas in the department, MRI and CAT scan and ultrasound. And then we'll sit down and we'll actually look at some cases. And if they are so inclined, we'll let our interventional radiologist take them back and show them what they do, which is a little bit more surgical type of radiology. And it's amazing when the day is over how much they are surprised what radiology is and what it does, and they had no idea coming into it. And you know, when I started, it was just X-rays on a viewing box. And now it's
I understand now you have yours on your iPod.
It's on the iPad, you're exactly right. So it has changed so much. And today, I actually had a shadow student today, and when I told her that after 10 o'clock at night, we send the images down to Australia to be read at nighttime, she just couldn't believe it. But the internet has changed everything. But more importantly, the shadowing part is good because they get to look at surgery, dermatology, anesthesiology, family practice, all the different specialties. And we don't want them to spend a lot of their time doing that, but just enough so that they have a good feeling for what they're getting into.
How much do you share your personal life and personal challenges with a med student, the long hours, the...
You know, a little bit. I try to keep it even-keeled. I don't want to scare them away, because it is a big commitment when you become a physician, and you have to pick the right spouse who understands that commitment. And but we try to keep it fun, and if they ask questions, we'll tell them.
So for one last question I have, do you believe then this is giving Creighton the edge?
There is no question that there are very few schools around the country that do this. I love the Creighton family, and I think we should do everything we can to make our graduates successful in whatever they choose. This is one aspect of it, and I think it's going to make a huge difference. If I were a Creighton student and I was looking around for schools and I saw that they had a pre-med program established and a good track record of success for those kids getting into medical school, this would be the place I'd want to come to.
Thank you. And when we come back, we will visit with a student of the program and hear her perspective. I am speaking with Caitlin Crystal. She was in the pilot program. So what impressed you most about the program?
I would say the intensiveness of it and how much they actually got us involved with every step of the process of applying to medical school. The other thing that impressed me is how personable the program is and how they make it about you and making sure that each student succeeds, not just the class as a whole. They do a really good job of sitting down with you and going through your application process and making sure that every aspect is covered before you apply.
So Creighton doesn't necessarily care if you're applying for other medical schools.
No, they do. They care about the process as a whole, not just applying to Creighton specifically.
But to help you attain your goals,
Yeah.
I see. Let's talk about each of the years, how those worked for you.
The first year, as starting in the pilot group for the program, they kind of give you a step in the right direction. So they kind of put a bug in your ear about what the next 4 years are going to look like. And we started going to meetings and kind of developing our resume and thinking about that and thinking about how in the next 4 years we could participate in things that we enjoyed but that would also, help us make decisions as far as moving towards med school. We did stuff like going to volunteer fairs, career fairs, things like that. We talked a lot about like shadowing, and it was kind of just that first initial step into getting plugged in into all the things that would help us make decisions about whether or not we really want to be doctors. In Omaha, I shadowed 3 different surgeons and pediatricians, orthopedics, and I did that several times, and I would go to their office like once a week, and then I would also go do surgery with them. Through pre-med is where I found all of the volunteer experiences that I was involved in the last 4 years through the Pre-Med Society. And then I also found the Magis Clinic through Pre-Med Society and the Pre-Med program, which is a clinic at the Sienna Francis House that does acute health care for people without health insurance. And I work with the Creighton med students at that clinic. So I've gotten to meet physicians from CUMC and M1s through M4s and work with them kind of in a clinical setting.
A term that was brought up by several people was discernment. Tell me about that process.
I think that this program does a very good job of making you critically reflect on what you want to become, and it gives you an opportunity to use all of your volunteering and your shadowing and your Fridays in PMED to really formulate a response as to why you want to be a doctor.
So what is the outcome of the pre-med program to you personally? What will be the outcome, or has been the outcome?
I just finished applying to med school, and I would say the 3rd year of the pre-med program is really where you take the first 2 years and you take everything that you've done and all of the shadowing opportunities and the volunteering opportunities and the panels that you get to listen to physicians and med students talk, and you put it all together. And so my junior year, we spent a lot of time really working on our resumes, really working on interview process and etiquette. You really work on formulating your personal statement, and things like that are things that I think a lot of other people who maybe don't have this pre-med program at other schools, this really makes you take those steps and makes it happen, so that when I did apply this summer and was trying to put together my 16-page AMCAS application, I knew what I was doing. It's an in-depth process with a lot of tiny little details, and the pre-med program really helps you take it step by step.
Well, I hope the letter does the trick for you.
Thank you.
At Creighton, we hear the word Magis. Magis means more. The PMED program at Creighton is the more. On behalf of all of us at Creighton, thanks for watching.